Hi, today we're going to build a little business software which actually is a component that your users or your customers or clients will be able to embed inside of their website, and we will run that software on our backend using Wized and Xano. Now, the cool thing about that is you can build no-code solutions and no-code products a bit like Typeform, where you can embed a Typeform in a page. You can build things like this as well. So with Wized, you're not just limited in building web apps. You can actually build tools that people use inside of their web apps, which is quite amazing. Or like a chat pop-up, a bit like Twilio or something like this. So let's get started. So to start out, I already have my body and my section. And let's just add some full padding around here. Of course, we're going to start in Webflow, but we already have it connected to Wized. So the idea here today is that we're going to build a QR code generator that our users will be able to embed in their page. And the cool thing about the QR code generator is their users will basically actually only embed the QR code, and our server, our SDK, kind of like, we're actually building an SDK today, will render the QR code for them based on the URL they provide within a query parameter in their HTML setup, and we're going to beautifully show them the QR code. And they could build like a whole build your own QR code application, but we will be building the SDK that will actually facilitate creating the QR code and displaying the QR code. It's free for you to run this, but you may charge your user depending on which ID they have to add in their setup. So we're basically going to create something like Stripe elements, but we're not going to use this. We're going to build the technology behind Stripe elements at a way lower scale. So all the entrepreneurs, all the creative developers watching, this may be something for you. So let's get started. So the way I want this to work is I want a beautiful component, and the first part of that will be adding some loader animations, basically. So I think of having a divider, and let's call this module, just like that. And we want to basically render some content in here because the user will iframe this. And now let's actually ask ChatGPT, create a CSS spinner /svg HTML embed, please. I think ChatGPT knows what I tried to accomplish here. Okay, wonderful. Look at that, we got a little spinner. Here you go, let's copy that and let's see how that one looks. Let's add this, because we first want to, while we facilitate creating the QR code, we want to maybe show some loader animation in the meantime. So let's look at that. Here you go. I think that looks great. Look at that. We got some spinner going on. That looks great. Wonderful. So we got a spinner. And can you make it look like the Apple one? Let's see. Let's see if we can make it look like Apple. Oh, Apple style spinner. We may need to remove that from the text because we may get some copyright letters from them, but I'll be risking that for this video. And let's go to our spinner. And look how great ChatGPT can even make things move. Okay. I like that. That's great. Look at that. Perfect. Yes, that's great. So we have our spinner, right? And we already want to start adding a Wized attribute on here so that when we go into Wized, Wized knows what's going on. Let's call this loader. Just like that. So we got the loader for our module. And now let's say how to create, oh, I can't see what I'm typing, so I'm sorry for any typos. how to create a QR code from a URL in vanilla JavaScript, because Wized is just vanilla JavaScript. It's pure JavaScript that you run in the browser as of right now. So this is how we want to communicate with ChatGPT, so ChatGPT knows what we're trying to do. Because if you ask it, do this in Wized, it says, I don't know what you mean. So it says we have to add this script tag, so we're going to use a free library, which is always welcome. So let's add that into the body, just like that. Perfect. So we got that set up. And now, HTML setup, we want to create this div block called with the ID of QR code. I can actually use my custom element that I love so much for this as well. So let's add a custom element here, and let's call this QR code, just like that. Look at that. And we may want to, actually we have that module in here, so we're going to put that in the module. Way better. And now we got that QR code, just like that. QR code, let's give this a width, kind of like. Let's see, let's give this a width of 7 rem, maybe 10 rem, and 10 rem, just like that. Maybe 7 is enough. We can always adjust that later on, because we may need to reposition everything, because I want this to work in a module that looks really nice, like a little SDK thing that people can embed in their website, just like an iframe, and to have that work interactively. So let's see how we're going to do that. This will be great for the Webflow community. So let's give this some styling here to make that look even more beautiful, just like that. Maybe not too much, because I still have to scan it. Here you go. Let's add some padding of 1 rem on all sides, just to make sure that nothing gets cut off of the QR code that we're going to render in here. Just like that. Here you go. I think this already looks wonderful. And yeah, look at that. Here you go. Beautiful. And now let's actually, we have this code in here that will render the QR code. And yeah, perfect. So we just need that. And this JavaScript code that ChatGPT gives me in here, that is what we want to do in Wized. So let's make sure that everything is published, just like that. We will see that thing in here. And then we want to render this. So we actually, I forgot to add the ID. We still need to add the ID of QR code in here. So let's add ID QR code, so that our code that ChatGPT provides us can be rendered in here. And then actually also let's add a Wized attribute on here, so that we can set classes on here later on, which I will be going on with you together just to make it look nicer. Let's call this QR code. Okay, perfect. Now we are done with this so far. Just like that. Let's look at that. Here you go. We got that. Perfect. So now, actually, let's add some query parameters, because I want to provide that the user will provide a query parameter of URL with their website. So let's actually test this out. URL wized.com, just like that. Let's close this. Now we got wized.com in here. Wonderful. And now let's create an action. So let's call this create QR code. Wonderful. And this is an event-based action, and let's do a custom condition, and let's do return if the navigation, the end parameter, yes, if this parameter exists, we want to do that. So let's do We want to see if this exists. So we want to do if this parameter exists, return true, just like that. Let's give it some space so it can breathe. And then else return false. Just like that. Look at that. Now the parameter exists. We're going to return true. Now, if this is true, we want to run a function to create the QR code. Let's prettify this. Wonderful. And the text for the QR code, just like that, will be the thing that is in our parameter. Let's see if that works. So we got that in here, but for some reason it's not giving me, oh, it's spelled wrong. That's why it's not working. I did with a minus. I need to remove the minus and it should work already. It's miracles after that. So always make sure that you're going to name everything properly. And yeah, we just got a QR code. Look at that. And for the color, I want this to be transparent. Oh, what did I do here? Is that transparent? Yes, that's transparent. Wonderful. And we generated a QR code. Maybe we want to do the width. What happens if we do the width a bit more? What will happen? Nothing much. What happens if we do it auto? Will it look better? Let's see. It will not do anything. So I think 128 is good. Yes, that's wonderful. Or what happens if I do 150 and 150? I will get 3. Okay, let's just stay at 128. I don't want to break that. Okay, perfect. So we're creating a QR code right here. And actually, before we continue, I have to check if this works. So let's see. And yes, it works. If you look at that, I just opened Wized.com with the QR code. So I can prove that this works right here. So we just generated a QR code. And basically, it takes some time for this QR code to generate. So what I want to do is, after this QR code got generated, right? So probably in here. Maybe not in here because I'm defining an object. But yes. But under here, after this was successful, I want to set a state variable. So let's create a variable saying state or status. And I will start this with loading, because at the beginning, the initial state is that it's loading, right? And then after the QR code got loaded from the parameter, basically, I want to update this to say completed. Just like that. Oh, I like the other quotes better. Completed. Perfect. Now it says completed. So the moment this got updated, since it's so fast, but I think it's trigger enough for it to work. But actually, maybe we want to do it different. Because I think the condition is even different. Because we're going to look if this variable is defined. So if I'm going to do if this dot length is greater than 0, and then define this by return, just like that, so that I'm actually looking for the variable that got defined with the QR code here, I think the whole thing may have a little bit more of a delay that is more accurate. Now it has quite some of a delay, to such an extent that it's not doing anything. So let's see, dot length, or let's do QR code, doesn't equal null. Let's see, and that seems to work. Okay, it's just super fast, so we can work with that. It's enough for us to trigger a nice fade-in animation. And this is what I want to do right now. So we have a variable in here that has a state being updated after the QR code was generated, which just happens fast. But we have some flashing here. It doesn't fade in that nice. But if I focus on here, you will see that the state updates and it takes some time. So since the variable gets influenced by if the QR code got generated, even though it's fast, this gives us enough momentum to add a fade-in animation. So let's call this is hidden. So if you know what I'm going to do. If is hidden, it will have the opacity at 0. And if it is not hidden, it will have the opacity normal. And I want to add, oh, not that, I want to add a transition of all properties so that I will have this nicely fade in. Look at that. It will fade out. It will fade in. And I could even make this a little bit slower just to have it even more nice of 400. Look at that. It will gradually fade out and gradually fade in. Just like that. And now since I have the Wized, and I want to have this initially hidden, right? Because we don't want to prevent any content flashing here. So after I got that working, just like that, now I can go in here and base this class using setClass is hidden on this variable. So if I do return and the status equals completed, this is, oh, I gotta put this in quotes, equals completed, this will be true, now it will be hidden. So I need to reverse this using the exclamation mark so that it will be false, so that it will show that. So now if my theory is right, we should have this working with a fade-in animation. Look at that. And it works. So we have that QR code nicely fade in. And I think we don't even need to have that loader. But we can, technically. So sometimes those applications like to fake like something is processing, and I assume that we want to do that to make what we do look a little bit more intimidating. So let's take this and let's ask ChatGPT to add a delay. Can you please add a 1 sec delay in executing this code? Just like that. So we have like 1 second where we have the spinning wheel and then it starts fading in. So it looks to the user like, oh, something is being loaded, it's working, and all of that. Look at that. Let's copy that. And that will, make it look more futuristic. Let's look at that. Okay. It will take some time. And now it is not loading that at all. Let's see. Okay. Maybe that was a bad idea. Maybe loading something quick is a good thing. So let's actually get rid of this. It's a talent to know when not to pursue an idiotic idea. So here you go, we got this fade in. So basically what happens is I want to look at the way I structure my URLs. We see we have that. And now let's see if I can disable the Wized badge, because we will be using that as an SDK. So let's go in here. Let's go to branding, and oh, I can't remove the Wized badge. So let's do it a little bit different. I have this Wized badge, right? Let's go in here, because I don't want that Wized badge. So that is the Webflow badge. That is the Wized badge. They call that A. So let's copy this. Copy element. Let's add ChatGPT. hide this badge. Please give me CSS. Okay, and let's hide the Wized badge because we don't want to have that in our SDK. So I need CSS to override this. Sorry, I can't see what I'm typing here. To override the inline CSS of the, okay, you need to use important. Let's look at that. Here you go. Wonderful. So now we could go to our Webflow page, just like that. Go to the header. Let's add some style tags. Here you go. And let's hide the Wized badge, because we don't like that. Here you go. Let's see. Let's see if that works. Haha! Take this. We got it to work. And while we're on it, let's also hide the Webflow badge. Go to ChatGPT. Do the same, please, with the Webflow badge. Thanks. And there you have it. Wonderful. So ChatGPT is really helping us today get rid of all the badges so that our little mini SDK doesn't have any branding on it. Besides ours, we can add our own badge. Perfect. Let's look at that. Let's reload that. Here you go. Take this. We got rid of it. So now we have our QR code generator. Let's open this. And as you can see, we have the QR code being generated from the query parameter that has been added. And this is basically our whole SDK. So now let's go to ChatGPT, create a new chat, and let's say, please create an HTML embed iframe to show this HTML SDK module. Perfect. So now we have the software built. Now we want people to actually embed that in their application. And for that, we need to give them a code. So let's say I'm now a user, right? And I will create my QR code SAS. Let's call this QR SAS. I don't know about Wized. And the person knowing about Wized me already built that technology. So I just want to add this little QR code generator for my CMS collection. So let's create a CMS collection and let's call that links. Just like that, create collection. And this works great for people who don't know about Wized. And let's add a text field in here. I never use CMS, so please excuse me. Let's call this link. And let's save the collection. So let's create a new link. Let's call this link 1. And the link will be wized.com. Just like that. Let's create this. Taking some time. Let's create a new one. Let's call this Webflow. Just like that. And let's call this webflow.com, and you can go, you can do even more exciting things. Let's actually call this Wized, just like that. Because the cool thing is you can actually build real things that can be used by the Webflow and Wized community in Wized. So now I never set up a CMS, so I'm sorry in case I do anything wrong. Let's do a section. Let's do 100 VH. Let's do this in the middle. Perfect. And let's take our CMS collection in here. Let's connect this with our links. Look at that. And now we are going to add an HTML embed, and we're going to tweak on that. And we got our link. And now we need to go to the query parameter in here and add a field of link in here. So we got that dynamically. And we got our, look at that, we got our little thing in here. Now I think we need to adjust this a little bit. Let's try 100 and 100. Whatever works for the user. Let's look at that. Okay. That looks already really good, but it needs to be more centered. So let's ask ChatGPT like this. It works great, but I need it centered. Oh. Centered. Just like that. And then we're going to give our users their code to add that to their website. Look at that. iframe container. We're going to get this code that we can give our user. Just like that. Here you go. Let's add this in here and let's see how this looks. Great, but a bit high. So the height should be maybe like auto. Let's see. Okay, center, maybe the height should be 100 pixels. Okay, maybe not. Height. Maybe we need to do some adjustments on here as well, because if I do this on auto, just like this, I'm going to get such a pretty decent result, and that has nothing to do with that as well. Let's see. Let's get this to ChatGPT and say, it's still not really centered. Just like that. Okay, let's see what ChatGPT tells us. Okay, wonderful. Here you go. Wonderful. We get our code. Now the user goes to Webflow, and you will probably already have something errored out. Let's say it's better, but still not really centered. Just like that. And we're just going to work ourselves to that. Just like that. And here you go. It's going to give us a wonderful code that the user will be able to use in their project. Let's look at that. Okay, maybe that was too much. That was good. So we got that code in here. Maybe we need to do auto for everything. That could be. Let's see. Auto. And again, this is live, so I don't really know how to do this too. We're just hacking ourselves through here. Okay, that looks good. Align center. We got the height for auto. Just like that. Okay, I think that looks good. That's good. I think it's good enough for making a point here. So now we have our CMS collection here. It's a little bit like upload care, you know, but just for we can provide our user code that the user can use. Look at that. Look at that. We can provide our user code for our SaaS that we built in Wized for people using Webflow CMS to avoid writing code. And now if I'm satisfied with the way this code works, I can go to my other Webflow site and I can just go in here. And isn't that cool that you can build such great pieces? Like you can build your own jet boost and all of that in Wized and help people navigate across there. Look at that. I can now create a new page and call this docs, for example. Just like that. Apply my body on here and add my section. Just like that. Let's add a div block in here. And let's add my code in here. And let's give it some 2 RAM on each side. Just like that. Here you go. And I can give this to people. And now I would go in here and say URL. And in the URL, I can do like a CMS link. I can add a class on here. Let's do this bold. And then let's style this a little bit like a CMS link. We can do this as an inline. Or maybe as an inline flex. Just like that. Let's give this a little bit of a side padding. Just like that, of like 2.5, 0.2.5, 0.2.5 RAM, just like that. So it looks like the Webflow thing. We're going to give it like a purplish background. That looks good. Just like that. Here you go. Let's make this white. Here you go. And now I have my documentation. Look at that. This is my documentation for people to add this software SDK that I built in Wized to their little CMS app. And they can go in their different Webflow project in the CMS. Look at that. To their QR code, SAS, for whatever use case they have. And look at that. They can go in here, they can paste that in, and they have the CMS link, which they then just have to link with the link field. They can save it, and look at that. It even loads with such a nice fade and animation. They don't have to worry about that. Our clients using Webflow CMS, and they can build amazing SaaS experiences. And let me double check if this works. Here comes the moment of truth. This goes to Webflow. The second one goes to Wized. It's 100% working, and here is the proof. Here you go. So you can build solutions for people using Webflow CMS with Wized. And look how great this loads and how great this works. And we all built this using one action. Oh, no, actually 2 actions. Excuse me. 2 actions in Wized and Webflow to build a solution for people only using Webflow. Isn't that amazing? I hope that you're going to build a lot of beneficial stuff for the community and that you're going to figure out how to make the padding work. And thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate that. And let me know what you think of this, because I'm stunned by it, to be honest. Look at that. Isn't that amazing? Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for all your time. I really appreciate all your wonderful support. And yeah, thank you just for everything. And see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.